Yeah, so our class is fulfilling a requirement called Traditions in American Fiction. The way I imagined the course was looking at literature that historically at the university hasn't really been taken seriously. So we're looking at kind of the cultural work that dime novels did in the 19th century and trying to think about what they tell us about kind of the social political scene in the 19th century.
I do like this class. I wouldn't be getting up at 8:30 in the morning every single morning if I didn't like this class. So
So I'd say this class is more laid back in the classroom. You know, with the sort of question and answer and summarizing what we did the day before. It's just kind of, he creates this environment where you feel like anyone can sort of talk, where I've had classes before where the teacher's super intimidating and you don't want to say anything. He asks a lot of questions where it's you really have to think. You know, you actually have to think about what you read. It's not like math where there's just a one formula type of answer. You really have to dig and apply. There's a lot of application, but it's a good kind of challenging. It's rewarding to actually read it instead of talking about what happened and just going over timelines and facts and things like that.
I sort of went in to it knowing that it was, a certain century of literature and knowing a basic description of it, but you have no idea how the class is going to go, whether it's going to be boring or exciting. I feel especially some of the older teachers maybe have a set way of doing things, and they really don't bring the sort of relevance that Ryan has into this class. It was relevant back then.
And the reality we're living in the 20th century has roots in the 19th century. So that's really important.
I like that he makes the class more relevant, and he brings it sort of into this century, and uses different types of media to communicate to people our age. It's hard to teach some material that can be boring if taught in the wrong way, but I think he does get people sort of excited about learning about dime novels. He also allows the students to facilitate discussions, which is interesting because I think that he understands that you can actually learn more from teaching people than just from listening.
You may be familiar with educational theorist named Paulo Freire. Me and a lot of people in my kind of teaching generation over the last 10 years have been influenced and taught to have been influenced by his idea of education that isn't simply students sitting in a class with a lecturer giving information for students to memorize, which he calls the banking concept of education. And the idea is that model of education that we don't want to follow, the banking concept, doesn't really prepare people for democracy.
Ryan allowing students to lead discussions, I don't think that he is being lazy and just doesn't want to teach that day, so he's letting students do that. I think that he does understand that students learn a lot more through teaching their peers and through leading a discussion, because you really have to research it very thoroughly in order to lead a discussion. Otherwise, the discussion is not going to be very good, and everybody's going to know it.
And when you have a student-led discussion, it creates an environment where everybody kind of feels like they can say things.
What our class does is a communal kind of knowledge project, and I bring certain things and certain ideas that I want us to think through and learn about, and I accept my responsibility that I have as the instructor and as kind of conceptualizing things. So yeah, it essentially has to do with kind of maybe thinking about the classroom as the microcosm of a kind of a larger social democracy you might want to be a part of. So how can our classroom model that?
What tools do you have that that you can use and utilize and have people respond in a positive way and want to learn?
Movies are frequently more familiar text, and I think that's a useful way to say you know what, our conversation, even though it's kind of historically and firmly rooted in the 19th century, is very present in the social order we're still thinking about, has this history, and we still need to think about how these kind of cultural forces are working. So
I think there's definitely, it's good at kind of finding these connections. Maybe sometimes literature can seem irrelevant, as sad as that is. You know, we're a really media-based society, and so it draws the point back. You know, it helps you come full circle and see how things are connected and see how they're relevant in a way that's you know, more tangible for us, something that we're more used to.
And so I tried to help make those links by showing something from No Country for Old Men, for example, which I think brings to the fore many of the similar issues we've talked about in the 19th century, but in a different way.
Well, we watched a few clips from Batman, and I thought of Batman in a whole new light.
And it also just, you know, keeps things, it shakes things up, so you're not just reading out of a book monotone, you know, same thing. It gives you, when things are brought to life, when you have images like that, I think people get more engaged, they're more interested, and it helps me remember personally. I remember a lot more if I have something visual to call back upon. Ryan, you know, you can tell Ryan really tries. He's actually really invested and really wants us to have fun and enjoy it and care about what we're doing. He doesn't just care if we walk out with the grade. You know, you can tell he really wants us to be interested. And it's good when teachers are enthusiastic. Even though sometimes, Ryan, I gotta tell you, your slang is a little outdated.
I am kind of an anomaly. I'm kind of weird.
I wasn't sure at first because he does use words like dude or, you know, some different types of slang that make you a little bit unsure of his education.
Ryan is real, young, like youthful. He seems like, you know, he connects to us, and it's fun to have a teacher that doesn't, you know, you feel like they get you to some degree. Ryan is awesome, and Ryan is, I really wanted to use tubular, but we can't because it's a T.
He's definitely funny, he's entertaining, and he obviously is very smart and knowledgeable in his field, and I really respect him for that. And I respect the way that he has been able to communicate with the students, because I feel like getting up at 8:30 in the morning is hard enough, and to have a class full almost every single morning is pretty impressive.
Ryan's awesome.